Thank you. Thank you. This is Ron Lugashi with the Zamir Group, Keller Williamstown Life. We're going to discuss buyer consultations today. A little bit about our group, some not very interesting information. What I'm looking for you to get out of today is value and as much of it as possible. So the more value you obtain, the better I did my job. So we're going to talk buyer consultation today. I'm a buyer specialist on a very high volume team, which means that I have a lot of conversations, meetings, experiences with buyers that I get to share with you. So let's get into it. Let's talk about buyer consultations. So just a quick quote. It's from the Beatles. It means life goes on. That's what it means. So we run into a lot of different types of experiences in this line of work we call real estate, and some of them not so great. Many of them are frustrating, and they're all learning experiences, and life does go on. So I always like to start with a quick, fun quote. Let's get into it. Buyer consultation. So before we get into why we should have buyer consultations, the benefit of it, the advantages of it, I always like to start the discussion by asking the question of, well, how many agents out there that have purchased their home prior to obtaining their real estate license had their real estate agent sit them down, discuss the buying process, speak about the market conditions, answer any questions they might have before they went out and showed them homes. And I typically get a response of 0 to 1. It doesn't matter if it's a room of 5 or a room of 50. Your traditional agent is not doing buyer consultations. So the question I have is, well, what's preventing your traditional agent from conducting buyer consultations? And some of the main responses that we generally receive is, well, we don't know what to say. Well, that's interesting, because do we, as real estate agents, discuss the buying process every single day? Yeah, of course we do. And do we speak about the market conditions every single day? Yeah. And do we answer real estate related questions every single day? Of course we do. Well, that's exactly what a buyer consultation consists of. That's actually the structure of a buyer consultation. So actually you do know what to say. And here's the best part about it. You can't get it wrong. Now, what makes me say that? Well, you see, the person sitting across from you doesn't know what you're supposed to say, so you can't get it wrong. So that's why you should feel very comfortable discussing these things. And we're going to talk about structure in one of the future slides. So we're going to get to that. What are some other reasons? What else is preventing your traditional real estate agent from conducting a buyer consultation? Well, maybe they say, well, not enough time. Either the client or the agent, they say not enough time. Well, let me ask, is it more time consuming to spend 20, 30 minutes with somebody, or is it more time consuming to show them 20 or 30 homes? Oh, isn't that interesting? Yes. So obviously it was a rhetorical question, and the right answer is, well, it's much less time consuming if we actually sit them down and discover exactly what they're looking for, do a full-on needs analysis, and then we can take them right to the home. You see, our job is not to show them all the homes on the market, every single house. No, our job is actually to listen to what they're looking for and take them right to it. We're the guides, right? That's why they're hiring us. So we can guide them, so we can actually save them time. Many consumers, clients, buyers, they don't want their time wasted. They don't necessarily see every single home on the market. They want you to listen to what they're looking for, and for you to guide them right to it. That's what they're looking for. That's where we provide value as agents. Now, what are what are some other reasons that maybe whoever's on the line right now can think of? What else is a reason maybe that's preventing your traditional agent from conducting a buyer consultation? What do you guys think?
Afraid of losing your buyer.
Afraid of losing your buyer. Okay. See, what's interesting about that is that not all buyers are created equal, and some will waste your time. And what happens is, if you don't take the time to discover exactly, to pre-qualify and see what they're looking for, that's exactly what you might end up doing. You see, the buyer consultation is a tool to discover on our end, if it's a good fit for us to even be working with this particular consumer client buyer, because at the end of the day, they might not be realistic in what they're looking for. They might not have even been pre-approved. They might not be completely ready to purchase. And at the end of the day, what might happen, we're going to spend a lot of time, energy, and even money, because gas is and mileage, and that all costs money. And of course, the time that you're spending with them, you're never getting back, and you can always be more productive at that time as well. So we're using the buyer consultation as a tool to discover if they're a good fit. So if they're not ready, if they don't see value, then yeah, you might get some pushback. At the end of the day, it does benefit us as agents, and it does benefit the consumer as well. You see, and we'll get into it as well.
Hello?
You have to mute it, Tracy, or let me see if I can mute you. There you go. I got you. All right. So at the end of the day, it's also our job to prepare them. And a way to get them to the table to actually do the buyer consultation, presentation, discussion, consultation, whatever you want to call it, is it's of value, to provide them the value. And when we present to them, well, would it benefit you? Would it be helpful to you? Would it be of value to you to discuss the buying process, to speak with the market conditions, to answer any questions you might have about this whole process? Would that make you feel more comfortable, more confident? The answer is going to be yes. So that's how we get them to the table. We present the value to them, and then we set the appointment. Now, what are the benefits? I spoke about what's preventing your traditional agent from doing it, but what are the benefits of doing a buyer consultation? Now, the short version is actually right there on your screen. It increases the likelihood that they work with us, nobody else. That's the short version, right? Now, there's a long version. The long version is, well, it helps build rapport, trust, loyalty, confidence, competence, communicate expertise, all that fun stuff. And that's, that's one of the main benefits of the buyer consultation. It helps bring them closer to us, create connection. It allows us to set the expectations both for us of them and for them of us. This is what I should expect of you as a client. This is what you should expect from me as your agent. How can I make this experience a great one for you on a scale of 1 to 10? How do I make this a 10? So on and so forth. And we're going to educate them about the buying process, right? So the more they know about the process, the more knowledgeable they are, the more comfortable, the more confident they feel. We're going to answer any real estate related questions they have. It's not on here as well, but we're going to handle as many objections as possible. Now, if we're going to handle as many objections as possible up front, about 90% of the objections, then we're going to have a much more smooth process with a lot less surprises. Wouldn't that be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if they weren't scrambling for an attorney after you have an accepted offer? And wouldn't it be nice if they selected a good attorney that wouldn't blow the deal? And wouldn't it be nice if they didn't request the entire inspection report be addressed by the sellers? And wouldn't it be amazing if they have a pre-approval or before they like a house and want to submit an offer on it? And wouldn't it, and wouldn't it, wouldn't it? You see, we're handling all these objections during these presentations. This is an opportunity for us to do all of that. So it allows us to reduce the likelihood of any issues, any surprises, and that's always great. When I say emotions make them act, I'm referring to a bold law. Logic makes them think, emotions makes them act. And I find that real estate agents in general, they don't use words that connect. They don't use words like, I'm going to take good care of you. I'm going to find you a home that you're going to enjoy for many years to come. So those are, some words that we kind of need to insert into our vocabulary because it creates connection. There's no logic. There's no numbers behind it. It's just, I'm going to take good care of you. Trust me. Do we say trust me enough? No, not enough. I don't think so as real estate agents. We don't ask them to trust us enough. Or, I think it would be a lot greater of a connection. So I'm not somebody that connects at a very high level very quickly, but I did learn that we do need to say some of these things are along those lines. So those are some of the benefits of a buyer consultation. Any questions so far from anybody about anything? Awesome. All right, let's go next slide. So I want to talk about value proposition, and value proposition is really, really important as a buyer's agent. And we're going to insert value proposition into our scripts, and we're going to insert value proposition into our presentations. and there's a reason for it. And I always like to ask the question, what does it cost to hire a buyer's agent in the state of New Jersey?
Zero, nada, zilch.
For the same price of $0, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, would you like to hire an expert or an amateur? Of course, they'll say expert, right? Great. Well, I'm glad that we met because I'm an expert. And it increases their awareness level. That, yeah, actually, you know what? For the price of $0, we can actually hire whoever we want. We might as well work with somebody that's really, really good rather than somebody that doesn't know what they're doing. You see, the consumers, when we're talking to them, and they hear the word real estate agent, what do they think? They think they're all the same, right? They think that one agent is as good as the next, and it's our job to educate them and let them know, hey, listen, not all real estate agents are created equal, and some are better than others. And this is how we're better than others, by presenting our value, and the one with the most value wins, right? So you're always going to be providing more and more value, as much value as you can to the prospects, consumers, clients, and that way we'll be able to convert at a higher level, because everything that we do is all about conversion. There's a lead gen discussion and there's a lead conversion discussion. The buyer consultation is a tool for conversion. Yet there's always room for improvement. We're always looking to make it better, and we can do that if we communicate value propositions. So what are some value propositions that a buyer's agent can provide to a client? And there's a long list that covers most of it in front of you. Expertise and knowledge is a big thing. Preview homes before you see it before they see it. Obtaining in multiple offer situations, obviously that's the name of the game today. If we're in very strong sellers markets and there's multiple offers everywhere we go, obtaining in multiple offer situations provides an advantage to our clients. How do we do it? That's a different class. Over communicating, if you survey enough previous home buyers, maybe their agents didn't communicate enough to them. Negotiation skills, not all agents have the same type of skill set. Some are better negotiators than others. I always like to discuss strategy with my clients. We always like to say, okay, this is the scenario. These are the different options we can move forward. Which one would you prefer? And then I make my recommendations, and we can have a discussion around it. Yet most agents, I don't think they have enough discussions around strategy. Accommodation, being on a team is a lot more, I guess it's a lot less challenging to accommodate a client, because if I'm not available and they got to see a house today at 4 o'clock, then I have a whole team behind me. That is a value proposition where I can accommodate them, whether it's right away, later in the evening, on the weekends, weekdays. There's no right or wrong. There's always somebody to accommodate them. And you don't necessarily have to be on a large team to have the ability to do that. You just got to make sure that you're prepared for the situation when it presents itself. So you can always partner up with an agent and say, hey, listen, if I ever get stuck, can you cover for me? And that way, if something comes up, you always have somebody that has the ability to cover for you. So accommodation whenever they need us. Vendor network. You have to, I guess, most buyers, especially on the lower price points, when they're first-time home buyers, they don't necessarily have a solid network. They don't know who to use for an attorney, and they don't know who to use for the inspection, and they don't know who to use to do an oil tank sweep, and they don't have electricians and handymen and plumbers. Yet we do, or at least we should. And that's of value to our clients, because if I can send them a business card for, let's say, a house cleaning service, there's a house cleaning service out there. It's called the Caribbean. It's a very good company. And, if I can send my client a business card in 2 seconds flat, isn't that of value to their, to our clients, right? So just have a very good network of everything. And they'll appreciate it, and then you'll be the go-to if they ever need anything in the future. See, this relationship, it doesn't go, the value we provide doesn't just stop at closing. After they move in, they're going to need blinds, and they're going to need repairs, and they're going to need somebody to do their basement, and they're going to need somebody to fix their gutters, or clean their gutters, or clean their windows, or do their landscaping. And if we're the go-tos, those are amazing touches. So have a very good vendor network, and that'll provide you they'll provide them a lot of value. So that could be a value proposition. Off-market homes, if you call for sale by owners and expires, those are off-market homes by all means. And if you are presenting a property to them that they have no idea that are available, then isn't that of value to them? You're going a little bit, actually you're going above and beyond what your traditional agent is doing. Rather than just waiting for the home to hit the MLS, you're actually being proactive and presenting off-market homes to them, right? So your preparation actually goes both ways. And what I mean is it's our job to prepare the clients for sure. The more we prepare them, the less issues we have, the more comfortable they feel, and the more likely you are to have a smooth transition into closing. But yet, I also mean preparing ourselves. And what I mean by that is, well, we're the guides, right? We have to guide them from to the outcome, the accomplishment, the achievement they're looking for. And we cannot do that if we don't prepare ourselves. You see, if I don't know as an agent the buying process, can I communicate the buying process? No, I cannot. And if I as an agent don't know the market conditions, can I communicate the market conditions? No, I cannot. And if they have real estate related questions to ask me and I don't know the answer to, then how am I going to best guide them? So it's our job to prepare ourselves before the opportunity presents itself so that we're ready for it. Because the last thing we want is a missed opportunity, right? That somebody else is going to take advantage of. So we're always in preparation mode. Even if you're not with a client, we should always be educating ourselves, learning, growing, and getting better, always. So that when the opportunity does present itself, we will be ready for it. So understanding the local market, it is kind of critical nowadays to understand your local market, or else it's a disadvantage to our buyers. If if you've seen all the product, if what's available, what's sold, how many offers they got, how much they sold for, the schools, the transportation points, anything that might be of interest to the clients in that particular area, it is of value to them. And if it's items that they can't necessarily find very easily online, those are extra valuable to them. So understanding our local markets is critical, and it does provide advantage, benefits, value to our clients. And all those pretty much cover all the value propositions that we can provide as buyers agents. If you think of any others, let me know. I'd love to add to this list, but those are all the ones off the top of my head that I can think of. And on the next slide, we're going to connect everything. We're going to connect the consultation. We're going to connect the value proposition into structure, and they're all going to come together to make a little bit more sense. The one thing I want to mention before we go to the next slide is when it comes to value proposition, there's a question that you need to prepare an answer for. Why should I hire you? Why should I work with you? Now the answer to that question, you may know it, yet you may not know you may have trouble communicating it. And that's, I think, where most agents have difficulty. So you may know your value proposition, you may know what value you can provide, and you may know even why they should hire you and why they should work with you, yet do you know how to communicate it? And that's where I think a lot of agents get stuck. Actually, I know for a fact that's where a lot of agents get stuck, because they tell me. So what's an easy way to communicate it? I'm going to give you a tip, okay? And that tip is just insert the value proposition, and then ask them, would this be helpful to you? Ask them, would this benefit you? Ask them, would this be of value to you? And what that looks like is, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I see every home before you do. So I know how to guide you best. I know I can tell you which homes to go to and which homes to not go to. Would that be helpful to you? Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, I can accommodate you at any point in time, since I have a large team of agents that can back me up at any point in time. So if you need to see a house today at 4 o'clock and I'm not available for any reason, then Michael can accommodate you. And if Michael can't do it, then Angela can, so on and so forth. Do you see the benefit in that? Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, since I'm an expert in the area, I do reach out to all the off-market homes as well, all the for sale by owners, all of the expires, and all of the coming soons. Would it be of value to you if I notified you of homes before anybody else? Would it be of value to you if I even showed you those homes before anybody else? Do you see how that works? it's just an easy way to communicate value proposition. It's what I use. So I'm just providing you the same tip. Would this be a value to you? Would this benefit you? Would this be helpful to you? So just insert your value proposition, say the line right after. And what we're looking to do by asking it, by phrasing it in that way, is we're actually looking to obtain yeses, right? It is more likely when I ask a question, is this helpful to you? Does this benefit you? Is this of value to you? It's more because I asked it in that way. It is there's an increased likelihood to obtain compliance, to obtain a yes. So we're actually influencing their response. It's it's just an interesting tool to use as a salesperson, right? So it's an easy way to communicate value. Now let's connect everything together. We should have enough time for a role play right after. So a structure of a presentation, let's get into that. So we've all been in school. We've all had to write essays. And do any of you remember what your teachers wanted the structure of an essay to look like?
Outline, the introduction, the
Right.
body, and the conclusion.
You got it, right? So there's an intro, a body, and a conclusion. So the body, how many paragraphs did they always request you minimum to have?
At least 3.
At least 3. Okay, great. So interestingly enough, that's the same structure of a buyer consultation. You see, there's an intro, tell me about yourself. There's a needs analysis, buying process, and market conditions, which is the body of your presentation, and then there's a close. And do you see how that's structured? Buyer consultations, as well as listing consultations / presentations, have structure. And if you can identify that it does have a structure and you're aware of it, now all of a sudden it's easier to internalize. Instead of memorizing one long, impressive script, you can actually break it down. You can actually just focus on internalizing the intro and internalizing the close. And the close, of course, in our case, it's going to be going for the exclusive buyer's agency and asking them to make a commitment to us, since we're making a commitment to them. So now here's where everything comes together. You see, throughout the intro, the middle, and the end, what are we doing? We're inserting our value, right? So what we're doing is we're obtaining yeses throughout. So Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, would this be of value to you? Would this be helpful to you? It's a yes, 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 yes. And we're obtaining yeses throughout. So we're communicating value, value, value. We're obtaining yes, yes, yes. And at the end, when we're going for the close, it's an easier yes. Now, typically when we get pushback on the close, it's for one reason. Maybe we didn't provide enough value. So at that point, we're going to handle the objections. Make sure you have the objection handlers in your back pocket. We'll cover a few of the objections during the role play. We're going to do a role play very, very shortly. But do you see how everything connects? How the structure connects, how the value proposition connects, and how the buyer consultation comes together, all kind of like as a amazing tool to help benefit the client and us. So this is what I just wanted to do that. Now, what I do need is a volunteer. But before we do that, do you have any questions about anything that I covered so far?
I have a quick question.
Sure, go.
I'm an agent in Woodcliff Lake office, and for me to present myself for the first time to any of the buyers with no prior experience, how do I go about doing that, and how do I even show them the value proposition, or kind of, because they usually, when I went with one of my real estate friends and showed some of the houses, and they all want to know your experience or how many houses you have sold before. So I don't want that kind of thing like behind me in kind of the market because I'm new. So I was wondering, how do I go about doing that?
Well, what you'll find is they'll never ask you what your experience is if you provide value, and they won't ask you what your experience is if you show confidence. When you tend to get those questions of how many homes have you sold, it's because maybe you didn't communicate enough confidence or provide enough value. So it's the best recommendation I can give you is show confidence and provide value. Now, what I'll tell you also, you don't need a dozen value propositions. In order to make a conversion from consumer to client, from prospect to client, you really only need one or two. I just gave you a bunch of examples, but
Right.
one or two will do the job.
Okay, great. I
So
mean,
let's go back for a second. So let's just say, Mr. and Mrs. Buyer, in order to save you, I know your time is very valuable to you. In order to save you time, I'm going to make sure I see every home before you do. Would that be helpful to you? Would that be a value to you? Would that benefit you? And that's a value proposition. You're going above and beyond your traditional agent. And what does your traditional agent do? Your traditional agent is just basically saying, okay, I'll schedule the property, and they'll go see it for the first time with their clients.
right,
Now, that's not right or wrong, but there's a better way to do it.
right.
So, I don't like to say things are right or wrong. I like to say that there's a better way to do it. So it's, if you provide them value that's above and beyond your traditional agent, you're not better than your traditional agent. You're not wasting their time, especially if they're coming from a distance. If somebody's coming from Queens and they're driving an hour 15 minutes each way, and you're going to show them homes that they're not going to like, I'm not sure how many opportunities they're going to provide you, how many meetings they're going to want to meet with you.
Yeah.
Because you're not really guiding them. You're just kind of being a door opener.
Even if they are close by, no one wants to waste their time nowadays and be outside with, in different houses. And, they all want that the agent is prepared enough and they have previewed the homes
Yeah, you
before.
got it. And you know what? If you just do that one, if you provide that one value to your consumer, to your clients, you're more likely to convert at a much higher level.
So then you just contact the listing agent and then ask them for previewing the home beforehand?
Yeah.
Okay.
Even with COVID, you can still do that.
Right. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. So yeah, just don't worry about learning a dozen. Get one, get two. Be able to communicate it, and you'll be fine. You'll find that they'll ask you about your experience a lot less. All right, so let's do the role play very, very swiftly. Normally it takes about 17 minutes. I'm going to add another 3 minutes on the back end of it for the exclusive buyers agency for handling those objections. And, you'll see what kind of a role play looks like. I just need one of you guys to say really a bunch of yeses. It's mostly me talking. What I need you to know about presentations is that although this is my presentation, I'm not saying this is the way you should do it. What I'd like for you to do is if you see something that you like, then copy, imitate it, make it your own, that's fine. If you don't like it, forget about it. What I will tell you is that there's a lot of different ways to do a buyer consultation. In this case, it's going to be a visual slideshow with me speaking most of the time. Yet sometimes agents are doing no visuals. Maybe it's just visuals, and maybe sometimes they're using questionnaires, and they're going just question by question. It's just the client answering, and sometimes it's you're going through your home buyer's guide and you're using that as a tool to do the buyer consultation, where you're going page by page by page. And there's no right or wrong here. It's just whatever's helps you convert at a higher level. So I found that using a visual does help me with my conversion. 80% of consumers are visual learners, which means they retain information a lot more when they see something. So I've created this particular slideshow so that they actually have a visual, so they can retain a lot of the information. They're not going to remember all the information, yet we're always going to provide them with what happens next. We're always going to prepare them for what happens next, and that'll reduce their anxiety, which is what we're looking to do. Our job is to lower their anxiety level and increase their comfort level, make sure they're as comfortable and confident with this whole process as possible, and that will increase the likelihood that they work with us and nobody else, right? So considering the fact that probably 99% of agents don't do buyer consultations, it will definitely set you apart. And what ends up happening is that when they walk out of that meeting, they're thinking, I want to work with this particular agent and nobody else. And that's our goal of these presentations, consultations, discussions, right? So let's get into the role play so we can finish on time. Who wants to be my volunteer, just to say a bunch of yeses? All right,
Well, you need to do it.
all right. Yeah, let's get through it.
Roll.
Yeah, so I did just the setting to save time. I've already pre-qualified you over the phone. And I've already asked you all the questions. I know what you're looking for. So the intro is going to be very, very short. The needs analysis is going to be very short. I'm just going to touch upon it, and then because that'll extend the conversation a lot longer. And then we'll get into the buying process, and then we'll get into the market conditions, and then we'll go for the close. So that's in a nutshell, the summary of this particular presentation. Let's get into it. Ariane, first thing, I wanted to thank you for meeting with me to see if we're a good fit to work together. I really do appreciate you coming all the way from Queens to have this meeting. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
All right. So you mentioned over the phone you were looking for a home in this area because you were interested in good schools, good transportation, and affordable properties in the 450 to 500 range. Is that right?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay,
Love this
great.
area.
And you said that you were a family of 4 and 2 dogs named Hershey and Bingo?
Yep.
Okay, great. And is there anything else that I should know about you and your family that would be important?
I really wanted a really great school system.
Okay, great. And that's exactly what we have around here. There's a lot of towns in the area that have amazing school districts. So we're definitely good on that end. We just got to find you the right home, the perfect home. Sounds good?
Yep.
All right. So you did mention you were looking at least for 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and a space to kind of work from home. Is that right?
And the yard for the dogs.
And the yard for the dogs. And let me ask you, since you mentioned it, is a fence required, or can you put up your own fence?
We can put up our own fence. My husband's a contractor.
Wonderful.
But it would be nice that if we didn't have to do it. So,
all right.
But it's
Well,
not a deal breaker.
That's great because we do have limited options on good inventory around here. So, by having the ability to look at homes that don't have fences, that does increase our options, which is great. The yard size, you mentioned that you were looking for a good size yard. What does that look like?
I'd say at least 1/4 acre because we'd like to have a pool for the kids. If it doesn't have one, we can always put one in.
Okay, so a pool-sized yard, or if it has a pool, wonderful. If it doesn't, then at least big enough to install a pool in the future. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay, great. So now I know what to look for. I don't want to have to waste your time by showing you homes that definitely don't have a yard big enough to install a pool. Now, when you say pool, you mean in ground or above ground?
I think we haven't decided yet. If we do above ground, my husband will just build a deck. I think it depends on the level of where the kitchen and dining room or that area, that common area, will meet the yard. So if it's ground level, great. If it's above ground level, we'll work with it. So there's options there.
Great, gotcha. All right, wonderful. So, Ariane, what I'd like to do now is I'd like to discuss the buying process with you. Is that okay?
Yes, absolutely.
All
Love
right,
to
wonderful.
understand this and see
Now, I
if
sent
I
you
can
an
wrap my head
email.
around wrap my head around this.
Yeah, wonderful. And that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to make you feel comfortable and confident with this whole thing. And you'll have a lot more information by the time we're done here today. I did send you an email with two documents, the intro email about our team and the home buyer's guide and what an offer looks like in New Jersey. Did you receive that email? Were you able to review it?
I did. Thank you so much. It was very informative.
My pleasure. So I always like it when our clients are able to view the documents before they have to sign it. And, of course, a little bit more knowledge about how the buying process works in New Jersey. So let's talk about that a little bit more, go into a little bit more detail. So what I need you to know is that New Jersey is a very, very pro-buyer process, more so than other states. And when it comes time to submit an offer, that 13-page document that I sent you, you should feel very comfortable signing one of these documents. For the most part, we're only looking to communicate 3 things to the other party, the seller, which is sales price, down payment, and closing date, and all that is on page 2 and page 3. So you should feel very comfortable signing one of these, as well as, well, New Jersey, theoretically, you can submit as many offers as you like and not be obligated to anybody or anything. Isn't that amazing?
That's good to know. Yeah, that's good
Yeah.
to know because I've heard the market is hot and I don't want to lose out on an opportunity.
Yeah, so you should feel very comfortable signing one of these. It's just to get the ball rolling in the right direction. Did you have any questions about it?
That doesn't mean I have to buy 3 or 4 houses, does it?
No, 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 of course not. What it means is that when time comes to submit an offer, is that you feel comfortable enough to submit an offer very swiftly, so before we lose out on any homes.
Okay.
So, okay. All right, very good. So you don't have any questions in regards to what happens when we submit an offer?
No, not really. I
Okay,
mean,
great.
usually how long do they take before they say yay or nay?
So
I think
it
that's
depends
probably a
on the
variable.
so there's a lot of factors that come into play when we're discussing that. If there's a lot of competition and there's multiple offers, they may select to conduct what's called a highest and best deadline, or on a rare occasion, the seller just selects one and moves forward with it. If it's a one-on-one and we have to negotiate, then response time could vary depending on the personality and situation of a seller. I'll always what I'll always do is I'll always provide you with the best strategy to move forward. I'll always advise you on how to best move forward with that particular situation.
Okay,
Does that sound good?
perfect. Yep.
All right. So let's get into the actual buying process. So let's just say we find you the perfect home, the right one, and now we sent the offer over to the seller. We agreed on all the terms, and now they finalize, they execute, they signed off on that offer, and now we actually begin the buying process. So I like to simplify the buying process into 3 separate phases, just so it's easy to remember. So yes, we found the right one, the perfect one. We have an accepted offer. Now we're going to begin the first phase, which is known as the attorney review. Once we complete attorney review, we'll enter the inspection period. And after we enter the inspection period, we'll enter the final phase, your mortgage contingency period, and you will be a homeowner after the closing. Is it okay if we talk about those different phases in more detail?
Oh, absolutely. Because I,
Oh,
I had a question about one of them, but if you're going to go into detail, that'd be
I
great.
am. That's exactly what we're going to do now. So any questions you might have, feel free. I'll be more than happy to answer them. Let's talk about the attorney review first. So yes, we found you the right one, the perfect one. Now the executed agreement is going to get forwarded to the seller's attorney and the buyer's attorney. Ariane, do you know who you're going to be working with, or who you're going to be using to represent you in the transaction?
I haven't really thought that far, but if you know of a few different attorneys, that would be great.
Yeah, and as soon as we end the call today, I'm going to forward you a recommended list of attorneys. Feel free to reach out to them, connect with them. What you need to know about, selecting the right real estate attorney, I can recommend that you work with somebody that charges a flat rate, not an hourly or per phone call, per email type of rate. The flat
Mm,
rates for the attorneys that we recommend, they vary between 1,100 and 1,250. So they're all give or take in the same price range. They're all amazing. They'll all take very good care of you. What's important about selecting an attorney is also that they're very responsive. They're aware of the market conditions, and they understand the importance of the very swift response. And you also want somebody that's always going to be available to you. So all the attorneys that we recommend are all of the above. So that's why we recommend them. They're all going to take very good care of you. Sounds
okay,
good?
perfect.
All right. So what you need to know about the attorney review, that really any party can cancel for any reason, right? Now, there's about a dozen reasons why a buyer would cancel, but there's only one good reason a seller would cancel. And that one good reason is if they get a better offer. And in today's
Mm,
market, that does happen. So what we need to do before something like that happens is actually conclude attorney review very, very swiftly. Do you see the benefit of concluding attorney review swiftly?
hmm
Yeah, we
How long does that usually take?
so attorney review, you can do it in 1 day or you can do it in 1 month. As soon as the attorneys, they're going to create a legal document called a rider. As soon as the first rider gets sent from one party to the other, then that time frame becomes indefinite. So it's concluded when both parties come to agreement on all terms and conditions, and they're going to do that via the rider. So this legal document, the rider, the first one is usually sent out by the buyer's attorney. So once we have an accepted offer, you're going to discuss the first rider with your attorney. They'll review it with you. They'll send it over the other side. It'll go back and forth 2, 3, 4 times, and you'll conclude attorney review after you come to agreement on all terms and conditions. Any questions about the attorney review period?
Okay.
Okay, great. So
Mm,
yeah, so once we do that, we can conclude attorney review. Now we're considered under contract. And this is important because at this point, the seller cannot cancel for any reason, but the buyer can. Right? So let's talk about those. So the following phase is your inspection period. That's pretty self-explanatory. We're going to hire a home inspector. They will conduct a home inspection. They'll provide us a home inspection report. And then if there's any items of interest on that report that we would like to request that seller address, we're going to create a short list of items that are most important to you. For your attorney, which is going to communicate that to the seller's attorney. This is a negotiation of sorts. The seller will then respond by saying, yes, I'll fix it. No, I won't fix it. I'll provide you a credit, or just a plain out no. We're going to come to agreement on the inspection contingency, and we will move forward because that's the outcome, the accomplishment, the achievement that we're looking for. Right? So at this point, I always get a question is, okay, well, what if we can't? What if we cannot come to agreement on inspection items? Then, well, buyer can cancel without penalty. Right? So it's a very, very pro-buyer process. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but I didn't say anything about deposits, but anything about money exchanging hands, any consideration up until this point. And also, it's one of the reasons I say this is a very pro-buyer process. You see, your additional deposit, we call it, is due 10 days after completion of attorney review.
Oh, okay.
Now, your inspection contingency is typically 10 to 14 days. So what that looks like is usually we complete attorney review. We're going to actually conduct the home inspection, and then your deposit is actually due after that. So we're actually well into the transaction before any monies is due. Now, you mentioned you were going to put 20% down.
Yes, 20%.
So normally, when at the point when the additional deposit is due, the additional deposit is usually between 5 and 10%. If there's no other offers on the table, 5% is fine. And that 5% will be due 10 days after completion of attorney review. And the remaining balance of 15% plus your closing costs will all be due at the closing table. Now, let's just say, I always get this question as well. So let's just say we provided the deposit and we haven't come to agreement on inspection items. And then we can't come to agreement on inspection items. What happens? Well, buyer can cancel that penalty, which just means, we can't come to agreement, we'll cancel, and then the buyer gets their deposit back. Now, that's not necessarily the outcome we're looking for, but just so you're aware of all the worst case scenario, that's what happens. So
who holds my deposit? Like, where does that
seller,
money go?
the seller attorney will hold it in their trust account.
Okay.
All right, so it's in a trust account, and that cannot be released until both parties agree that it can be released. So,
And how long would that take to get back if I decided that, or if we decided that we weren't going to move forward?
generally,
Just
it's pretty
curious.
swift. Yeah, it's
Okay.
pretty quick. It's within days.
Okay.
Normally, obviously, it could be prolonged if there's any delayed responses. But normally, in the past, when it's occurred, it's generally a few days.
Okay.
So yes, so we've concluded the attorney review. We've concluded the inspection contingency. We've provided the deposit. We're basically 2/3 through the transaction. We're now entering the final phase of the transaction where the seller really has nothing else to do other than make the repairs they agreed to and obtain what's called the CCO from the towns if required. And on our end, we're going to go ahead and order the appraisal. Once the appraisal is conducted, the appraiser will send the report over to your lender's underwriter. They'll review your whole file. They'll provide you with what's called a mortgage commitment letter, which I like to call a conditional loan approval. Why? Because at the very top it says you've been approved for this house, for this amount. Provide us these list of conditions, and we'll provide you full loan approval and a clear to close. So we're going to submit the conditions as quickly as we can to the lender, and we'll go ahead and go for the clear to close from the lender. As soon as we hear those magic words from the lender, we can go ahead and schedule the day and time with your attorney. So we're going to get to that in a second. I saw in the chat the question. We're going to get to that. Any questions so far about anything that I said?
No, that's perfect.
Okay, wonderful. So is it okay if we discuss the market conditions?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay,
I
great.
heard it's hot out there.
It is. And, do you know the difference between a seller's market and a buyer's market?
Vaguely, a little bit.
Okay, well, pretty much in a nutshell, in the seller's market, there's low inventory. There's a lot of demand. We have, there's a supply and demand issue is tilting.
Okay,
Um,
like now.
yeah, like now, and the sellers are able to obtain not just what they're asking for, but even more. Many times it goes above asking with multiple offers. In a buyer's market, you have a lot of inventory, and buyers have more options and they have more leverage in negotiations. And I'll tell you that right now, while it does seem a little crazy, it's actually I don't necessarily call it a seller's market or a buyer's market. I like to call it a funny market. And what I mean by that is that really there's only two types of products. And it's kind of like it's a tale of two products, right? And one product, it's about 80% of the inventory, and that inventory is your overpriced, going to get a lot of activity, still going to get a lot of showings, but not going to get any offers type of product. And then the other 20% is your priced correctly, even underpriced type of product that you're going to get that is here today, multiple offers gone tomorrow. Now, you as a buyer, do you know which one you happen to be walking into at any point in time?
Um, I don't think so. I think I'm going to defer to you on that
Yeah,
one.
and that's exactly what I'm here for. You see, every property we walk into, I'm going to tell you, hey, don't look at the list price. They're actually overpriced, not you, but another buyer is not going to be paying 500. They're going to be paying 470. Or I'm going to tell you, hey, they underpriced it. They put it at 450. Don't look at the price. They underpriced it. It's actually going to go closer to 500. So would that be helpful to you if I provided you that information on any property we walk into?
Oh, absolutely.
Great. Yeah, so I can definitely do that more so than your traditional agent, since we're the experts around here. Do you know the difference between a salesperson and a consultant?
Um, oh, I mean, not really, I guess. I thought they were one and the same.
Well, salespeople, they'll try to sell you something. They'll push product on you. They'll try to make a sale. And the consultant is going to listen to what you're looking for, and then they're going to go find it for you. They're going to guide you. Which one would you prefer?
I guess a consultant. I don't want to be sold.
Yeah, exactly, and that's exactly. So we're going to be consultants. We're going to be advisors. We're going to guide you. I'm going to give you all the information. I'm going to educate you so that you can make a very good real estate decision. How does that sound?
Perfect.
All right, so that's exactly what we're going to do then. Is it okay if we talk for a minute about for sale by owners and open houses?
Oh, yeah. Yep, absolutely.
Okay, great. Oh, well, there is plenty of open houses going on. You can feel free to go to as many as you like. And what I'm going to ask you to do when you go to the open houses is to provide my card that I'm going to provide you a few of, or you can just, when they ask you to sign in, I'll actually ask you to sign in with my name so that they don't call you when you're walking Hershey and Bingo and they're calling you for feedback. Instead, they'll be calling me for feedback, and then I'll
Okay.
provide them any info that you communicate to me. How does that sound?
Okay, perfect.
Okay, great. And when it comes to for sale by owners, I need you to know that we actually sell a lot of for sale by owners. I take my buyers to for sale by owners all the time, and likely we're already in communication with all the for sale by owners since we're always looking for off-market properties for our clients. Now, what I will tell you about for sale by owners is that they tend to be unreasonable or overpriced. And the last thing I want is you overpaying. You don't want to overpay, do you?
No, not at all.
Yes, and you remember that conversation we just had about the two different products, the overpriced kind and the priced correctly kind?
Yes.
So when you approach, whether it be a listing agent conducting an open house or a for sale by owner, and let's just say you don't necessarily know what the property should be priced at, and let's just say they're priced at 500,000, and not you, but another buyer is going to be willing to pay 470 only for that house. Do you think that that listing agent or that seller, if it's a for sale by owner, is going to push you towards the 500? Or they're going to promote your best interest like I will and negotiate on your behalf towards the 470?
Well, yeah. Negotiate on my behalf, I hope.
Well, that's what I'm going to do. But if you go directly to them, they're not likely to do that. They're likely to push you to overpay, and we don't want that, do we?
Oh, no, I'm not
No, of
overpaying for
course not.
anything.
Yeah,
I don't
exactly.
overpay
So
for, I don't pay full price for anything.
yeah, and that's what happens when you go direct to a listing agent that's representing the seller's best interest, or a seller that's definitely promoting their best interest. And that's why for the amazing price of $0, you can hire an expert to represent you and promote your best interest. How does that sound?
Okay, perfect.
Okay, great. So we spoke a little bit about your down payment. You did mention you got a pre-approval letter from Bank of America. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, great. Do you intend on shopping it around, or you feel comfortable with your bank?
I've been with my bank for like 20 plus years, so I'm
Okay.
pretty confident. I mean, if there's another company that might have different programs or anything like that, or can get me a better rate, then I'm all for shopping around.
Would it be okay if I provided some advice around this?
Yeah, that would be fine. That's not going
Sure.
to affect my
Well,
credit, is it?
no, actually, no, not necessarily. But what I will tell you is that when it comes to these price points, the lower price points, sub 510,000, the mortgage brokers, they kind of blow the big banks, the Bank of America, Chase, Wells Fargo, Citibank, they blow them out of the water. And when it comes to competing on the lower rates and the fees. So it would benefit you to work with a very amazing mortgage broker that can provide you a better deal, so to speak, over a big bank. Yet, I will say that you can feel free to choose whoever you want to work with, and if you're comfortable with your bank, that's perfectly fine. But if you would like recommendations from me, from mortgage brokers that will get the job done and provide you a very high level of customer service, I can definitely send you that recommendation list along with the attorneys.
Okay, that'd be perfect.
Okay, great. So that's what I'll do then. And it's really important that we have a pre-approval in hand for one major reason. You see, everything all the good product goes really, really quickly in today's market. And if we see something we like and we just don't have the pre-approval letter in hand, and your lender is not very responsive about getting it to us very quickly, then what might happen is that particular home comes and goes very quick, and that's the one that got away. And I
Mm.
need that pre-approval letter in order to submit an offer, and that's why the pre-approval letter is so important in a transaction.